Hello guys, today I wanted to try something slightly different. You see, I had this rather vivid dream where I was off exploring worlds, and something stuck with me from that dream, and that was this impression of a memory. And it kind of occurred to me the next day of how I would go about representing that memory of a memory on canvas. So I fired up ArtRage, which is a tool which I don't use too often, but I do like to use it now and again for its mimicry of real media. Now what I mean by that is it tries to emulate brush strokes and the textures and nuances that you get when you combine different colours and strokes on the canvas. And sometimes this leads to nice little happy accidents, and it was those happy accidents that I wanted to exploit in this painting. So you can see that I began by just toning the canvas with some warm colours. I duplicated that layer and changed the blending mode to exclusion, which inverted the warm colours into this sort of greeny pastel-y colour. Then I erased the middle of the green layer and then combined the two and then started to blend them together. And now you'll see that the first blending strokes didn't quite feel right, so I went back and I tried them again, and then over again and again until I got something which I was happy with. Now, abstract art is about capturing an essence or a feeling, and that's exactly what I wanted to try and do from this sort of alien landscape experience that I had in my dream. So here I'm using the knife tool just to blend together the virtual oil paints on the canvas. And this red and green palette, with them being opposite on the colour wheel, was giving me some very subtle but nice interplay and changes in tones. Now here I introduced some bright blue, and I'm still without a clear picture of what it is I'm trying to create here. Again, this is how I wanted to capture the memory of that dream. And if you tried creating any paintings in the past, you'll know how incredibly hard it is. We have these wonderful visions in our mind, but to put them on canvas is nearly impossible. But what stuck with me was the warm, airy, almost eerie feeling of that alien planet, and that's what I wanted to try and achieve. Now, the tools that I'm using are simply the oil brush and the knife tool. And all of the thought or processing behind this image is really into the colours and how they sit next to each other and how they blend together. So you can see I use that bright blue towards the top, and this kind of resembles having a sky on Earth where we have this atmosphere above us which is a lot lighter than the colour of the soil or the ground. And I also wanted to use some greens, but I didn't want it to look like grass, because I'm trying not to be too literal. I'm trying to take the feeling of what I felt at the time and capture the essence of that and put it onto canvas. Now, I was very tempted to go down the route of adding some trees and some rocks and putting some really hard defined edges in, but I think that would have killed the moment of this painting. And it's all about, for me at least, it's all about the interplay between the lights and the darks. Now, this is not a very high contrast painting, as in I don't have a lot of extremes. I don't go from very dark black to bright white, because the feeling is sort of ethereal. It's somewhere in between. There's nothing that's too distinct or too concrete that you can put your finger on it. So the impression I was trying to give here was that there is a landscape that's undefined. It's something that we haven't seen in our everyday life. It's something which sort of exists but doesn't exist, and this is a memory of that experience rather than a pictorial representation of mountains and rocks and trees and rivers. So at this point, compositional wise, I wanted to introduce some bright red and a little bit of green, because red and green are contrasting, but I didn't want them to be too overpowering. So again, a little dab with the oil brush and then a smudge with the knife tool, and I also erased back the bottom of it just so it looked like it was actually sitting on something solid. Now this is the only time I departed from the oil brush and the knife tool. I tried the gloop pen in Art Rage. It's not something which I use normally because it gives some weird results, and I just wanted to explore and experiment and see what I could create with it. So a couple of dabs here and there, and then erasing back with the eraser tool left this kind of pastel-y texture behind without there being too much solid bright colour. And at this point I was feeling like the image was done, a little bit more blending here and there, a couple of sparkles, and here is the final image. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, give this video a like, subscribe if you want to see more, and let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you very much. Bye bye.